time for us to look at stories that made it to the front page of our dailies. Now, starting off with Daily Trust. Now, boldly in the front page of Daily Trust, Boko Haram kills 22 soldiers, many CJTF. We neutralized over 70 terrorists, says the military. All right. And below, we have 3 killed, many injured as explosion rocks Niger mining site. Now, still on Daily Trust, how 20 perished in Enugu tanker fire. We saw the details of that story, in the first phase of the show where we took some news stories. $6 billion Mambila project. Federal government Sunrise Power awaits Paris court verdict, and why Sharia panels are generating controversy in southwestern Nigeria. Senate raises 350 billion naira in rights issues public offer, and USSD small business owners cry ahead of disconnection. You find that on page 60. And lawmakers demand 480 million naira from varsities to approve 2025 budgets. All right. These are the stories we have on the front pages of the Daily Trust newspaper. Do well to grab yourself a copy to keep yourself informed. Now, moving over to Guardian. On recapitalization, 7 banks raise 1.3 trillion naira as others shun public offers overrules cost. All right. Floods displaced over 2 million pupils in Nigeria last year. You have 4 killed, many injured in Niger mining site explosion. Still on Guardian, crude importation vessel crisis may keep PMS price high. Okay. Now, anxiety in Lagos Assembly ahead of Obasa's resumption. And 4 banks risk USSD disconnection today. Has Serap sues federal government and NCC over tariff hike. That's a lot happening in that sector. And then Lugbe Estate, River Park Estate developers gets restraining order against 2 firms. Those are the stories we have on the front pages of Guardian newspaper. Now moving on to Blueprint. On Blueprint this morning, we have boldly there in front, Northern Coalition louds feet as troops kill 70 terrorists in Northeast. And Seraps urge court to stop 50% telecom tariff hike. Over 350 billion naira raised in Zenith Bank's combined rights issue in public offer. We had that story on Daily Trust. And then CAF to unveil new logo. That's on sports. Then still on Blueprint, Tinubu taking in-country gas utilization to unprecedented levels, says Sanae. $910 million needed to support Northeast humanitarian crisis needs in 2025, says the United Nations. And NOA's cartoon content, a game changer for value reorientation amongst children. In Niger State, 4 die, 6 injured, 12 houses crumble in a dynamite explosion. And Nigerians struggle with cash crunch amid ATM limits and POS challenges. Those are the stories we have on the front page of Blueprint newspaper. So do well to grab yourself a copy and keep yourself informed. Now, joining us this morning to look at stories that made it to the front pages of the newspaper, we have with us Dr. Theophilus Abba, who is the director of the Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
There's this thing that happened. I call it brain freeze. It happens a lot where, your brain just goes off for that moment, and it's like you're trying to get your train of thought. I'm human.
You've been on air since, this morning. So
I'm human. It happens. So please, I'm not a superhuman. I am a human being like you and I. So yes, such things happen to us sometimes. But let's look at, the stories that have made it to the front page of the paper. We have a lot of stories, this morning. Starting off with Daily Trust, Boko Haram kills 22 soldiers and neutralizes over 70 terrorists. This is quite a number. Do you know what 70 people are?
Well, yes, we are still, on this issue of Boko Haram and how they are still launching attacks. But then, if you look at it, the military are not relenting. They're making a lot of efforts to checkmate them. So it's quite unfortunate that we are losing more soldiers. And then quite unfortunate that even so many civilian JTF, we say many civilian JTF have been killed. Now if you know what the civilian JTF members have been doing, they were like a game changer in the fight against the terrorists, because they tend to know the territories. Some of them can be very daring. Some of them will go ahead, try to gather intelligence, try to infiltrate communities where these terrorists are, and then they try to even lead the way. Many times you see them leading the way because they know all the nooks and crannies, they know the forest, they know the location, they know the communities, and so most times they do a whole lot of support work for soldiers. So before the guys who are trained in the use of firearms come, they've been able to map out, they've given them a lot of intelligence, they know people in community who can give them intelligence information. So when you see many civilian JTF killed, I can imagine the implication of that on the fight against terror, because the civilians have been doing a lot of intelligence and legwork for soldiers. But then I'm thinking also that the terrorists are also not finding it easy this time around. In the past, it's like, wait for them to attack locations, attack people, attack policemen, attack soldiers and others. But the fight is being taken to them. So if you see this kind of confrontation, it actually means that there was a serious battle, and maybe the military took the battle to the terrorists and then had this outcome. So it's quite unfortunate that we are losing so many soldiers and some of our fighters. But then even the terrorists too have been neutralized. But what we keep advocating is this, that some of the strategies we have used over the years to deal with this Boko Haram or these terrorists, they've been a bit not very effective. At the point you say, you are granting them amnesty. We hear thousands and thousands of them have come out. Then we see here that they have 120,000 fighters, and then many of them are children who have been recruited from the street, or maybe. So you see a whole lot of things are happening at the same time.
All right.
And then it's good to take another look at the fight so far and then come up with a new strategy in dealing with the terrorists.
We look forward to that. Now let's talk about the explosion of a mining site in Niger State. We're talking about illegal mining in Nigeria and how this has been occurring a whole lot. What is your take on this explosion, and what ways, in your experience so far, can this be mitigated?
Well, I think when you talk about mining, if there's a control system, some of these tragedies should not be happening. Because when you are using explosion, maybe you want to break some difficult rocks or whatsoever, I want to access some things beneath the soil, and then you just need to break rocks. That's when you use the dynamite and things like that. But then if you leave this in the hands of those who are not experts, those who are not well trained, and if you allow people who work on the site, to do whatever they want, they may not take precaution. They may just say, it's just another explosion. So that's these kind of things will happen. But then my worry is that Niger State has kept on telling the world that they want to control mining. They want to ensure that illegal mining does not take place. At the point they will tell us they are mapping the mining sites. They want to register all those that will be involved in mining and all this. I know why they are theorizing and they are contemplating and they are discussing. The illegal miners are making progress in their way. They are doing their this thing.
So I think they are speaking more than action.
They are not taking steps. You see, the formalization of things, and so they want them to come and register and they won't come to register. They are making their money on a daily basis. So as long as you dilly-dally, as long as you are not firm, and that is on the side of Niger State, if they are not firm about, some of the policies, then these people who are criminals, these people who are milking, the resources of the state, they will keep on doing it. And these kind of things will happen. People dying. The other time, there was a site that collapsed.
Yes, we had people trapped in it. All right, moving away from that now, talking about holding government accountable. We see this story on the Mambila project, the $6 billion Mambila project, with federal government Sunrise Power await Paris court verdict. Now, remember one time when Trust TV did an investigation on the Mambila, I think Trust TV and BBC opened up that there's nothing going on there. But what's your take on how this is going, the $6 billion Mambila project that is in court, where we're expecting the verdict?
Now, I think what's happening in Paris now is like an arbitration court. When we talk about an arbitration court, it is a court where those who have dispute over contract, international dispute over contracts, go to for settlement. So apparently Sunrise has taken the Nigerian government to this arbitration court in Paris. If you remember what we call the PID, it was an arbitration court in London, that nearly ruined the country. The court passed a judgment that, look, Nigeria need to compensate the P&ID. It was a lot of money, but after some appeals, that was overturned. You remember there's this case in Ogun State, where we talk about a factory that was set up in Ogun State, and then there were issues. They were taken to an arbitration court, and it was like the Ogun State government was going to pay heavily for that. It's the same thing that's happening here. Now, the issue is this. The Mabila project was given to a Chinese company, but Sunrise is saying that, look, we are the ones who originally got this contract. You cannot take it from us and give it to another Chinese company. And then, in order to deal with the matter, Sunrise went to a Paris court in France to say, okay, settle this case. And we understand. I think Obasanjo and Buhari had to go there to give testimonies. Now, what we are seeing in Nigeria is that most times when contracts are given, we don't read the fine lines. Number one, and then when contracts are given, perhaps a thorough job is not usually done, to ensure that the people that are being given the contract have the capacity to deliver. And when it is time for them to deliver and they can't deliver, if you say they are no longer giving them the contract, they will go to an arbitration tribunal, to arbitration court, either mainly in Europe, and then get a judgment against you. And there are many of them. In Ajakuta, we had that issue where global infrastructure took the government to court because the Yar'Adua government terminated, their contract. They went to court and they got some 500 million judgment. And then it was said that they should give part of Itakpe. I think the last government, that is the Buhari administration, paid that 500 million.
All right.
Now, you had the P&ID, then you had the Ogun State, this, and then you're having this one as well. So it's very clear that those who sign contracts we have with Nigeria, they don't do the thorough job. They don't do the due diligence.
Nigerians don't even read agreement and all of that. Talk more of signing contracts.
It's actually the due diligence to know if these guys have the capacity to do the job. If you know that, you are giving them a 6 billion naira project, and these guys have not done anything similar to that before. They have not accomplished a job that's up to that level. So if you sign the contract and give them, because maybe they knew somebody in the Federal Executive Council, or they knew some minister who said, just bring people, we'll just work on it, and they sign and you go ahead. By the time they are supposed to do the work, if they cannot accomplish it, that's you can't do, you are taking it from you, are giving it to the Chinese. They will go to court and say, look, it's a breach of contract, and that is what we are facing in the case of Mabila project.
Well, we hope that we'll have people who actually look at the fine prints properly, because this is the future of young Nigerians and Nigeria in general we're looking at. But due to time, we've actually did run out of time. I would say, can you quickly comment, because we have less than a minute to go, but on this 4 banks risk USSD disconnection today, and you have Serap dragging NCC to court. 4 banks are risking USSD disconnection today because the banks are saying they're owing them a certain amount of money for using USSD codes. And now Serap is taking NCC to court over the tariff hike. So what is your take on all of this that's playing out between the banks and Nigerians and the telecom companies? USSD code is popularly being used by a lot of Nigerians. Every use the USSD code every day, especially to recharge their phones and all this and all. Well, I think we've not heard so much from the banks. We're actually hearing the side of the telecoms companies and the NCC. We expect the banks to speak up, because if you deducted money from me and you are supposed to give it to MTN, you supposed to give it to Glo or Airtel, and you did not pay, there should be a way you explain to us why you did not pay. Is it that this money is trapped in CBN? Is it trapped in some payment channels, or is that money missing? Because we expect that for the transaction, you charge me some money, then I also paid for what
I was supposed to get from telecoms company. For instance, if I recharge for 1,000, I paid the 1,000. Then you also charge me, a fee. So and everything went left to my account. Why didn't you pay the telecoms? We expect the banks to speak up so that we can clearly understand what is happening.
Nigerians are calling for transparency indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Theophilus Abba, for always making out time to join us on the show. For the Newspaper Review, your presence is greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right, to every Nigerian out there, I hope we've been able to inform you. I hope we've been able to educate you. I hope we've been able to leave you with something positive as you go about your day to day. We've come to the end of the show this morning. My name is Lilian Ogazi, and yes, it is Monday morning. The time is far spent, but there's still time for you to go about your activity and achieve those goals you set down for yourself little by little. It's just Monday. There's a lot you can do with yourself. And while at it, do how to keep yourself informed on every news happening around you. You could only question the government and hold them accountable if you know what is happening. That is through reading and confirming news from informed news platforms. Make sure that news is right and properly from the correct source before you forward it to somebody else. Understand the policies the government has put in place for you and speak up where necessary. That way you could hold them accountable if policies are not being done in your favor or if policies are not being done the way they said they would handle it. Well, having said that, my name is Lilian Ogazi. See you again, same time, same session tomorrow. Bye for now.